Are you a thoughtful leader? Maybe you are. Maybe you think you are. Let's find out. I'm Mindy Gibbins-Klein. I'm author of The Thoughtful Leader and host of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. Thoughtful leadership is all about thought leadership that goes above and beyond. Thought leadership that is truly new and original, exciting, disruptive, maybe even groundbreaking. Because let's face it, we need to raise the bar. My guests and I are absolutely obsessed with finding truly original thought leadership, and I'm going to bring you so many exciting ideas and opportunities, things for you to think about, and chances for you to push your thinking that you'll be very glad you tuned in. So thanks so much for checking out Thoughtful Leadership and the Thoughtful Leader podcast. I look forward to connecting with you very, very soon. Welcome to the show. My guest today is the amazing thoughtful leader, Denise O'Leary. Denise, how are you?
I'm really good, Mindy. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks. I'm so happy that we got you onto the show because you are amazing. You are doing some incredible things, and I can't wait for you to share them with the listeners.
Thank you so much.
Before we talk about all the current things, explain the work that you do and kind of your journey to where you are now.
Oh, my journey. Yeah. Well, it's been an interesting one. Started up setting a tasting panel for Chambourcy chilled foods, moved into railway brake engineering, then headed to plastics manufacturing where I planned all the factories and the labour, moved over to the commercial side of that business, led the customer marketing for a drainage company, then went and led from leading a team of in the 20s to leading the team of myself, and then became a marketing in situ person for a construction company. And then after that point, formed my own business, which I'm now in the 8th year of.
Yeah, so marketing in the construction industry. Let's pick up on that because there are not many women in the industry at all. But they do need all the basic things. They need to market themselves.
Absolutely. And it is definitely the case of having that different perspective. And one thing that's very key about the construction sector particularly is the need for bid writing skills. And that's actually the transfer of the marketing knowledge into the construction sector, because mostly if you're going to build anything with public money, you need to be able to prove best value by whichever the criteria is they judge it at that moment. So bid writing and creating a bespoke marketing campaign really to bid for the project is what people are asked for.
So what changes have you seen in the industry in the 8 years you've been involved in it?
Well, of the 8 years of having my own company, I've seen quite a difference in marketing. The adoption of digital, of course, has been massive. And when I look at, how we would have coped with a pandemic had we have not had the technology we've had even in the last 18 months, it's quite an incredible difference. My business has always been digital. I've always run it from my own home. All of my staff have always worked in their own home. So that connectivity has already been there. So I guess that gave us a bit of a head start because, we were already used to working in those ways. But, the essentials now are good Wi-Fi access and power connectivity as well, of course, and just being able to have those collaborative tools to share information with one another.
Yeah, that's not all you do. We will get into all your many hats in a second. But what fascinates me is it makes total sense. We needed a pandemic for people to realize that they could work from home and connectivity and everything you've been talking about. But I think when many people think about construction, they think about quite an old-fashioned, maybe last century industry. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, is that true?
Yeah, and it's true in some places still, of course. But I think, because digital adoption has taken place during the construction industry as well, there's a technology called BIM, Building Information Management, where in theory you build something digitally before you build it physically, which is designed to stop the errors that could occur if things are clashing, basically. And all of that comes into a great amount of detail for bids. Also, community engagement is another massive factor whereby people are asked, what work are you doing for apprenticeships? How are you training your staff? And these are the things that are constantly going on with what people want.
And you're advising them?
Well, we're advising, yeah, absolutely. What we want to do is, just encourage people to do the best they can and actually do things properly. If you're a regional company, you're going to have different resource and different skill sets than a national company has got. And the nationals, of course, have got a large amount of resources, but the regionals have got local people and they make a real difference and they know their own communities. So it's about how you get that across in the messaging.
Yeah. So messaging, that's a nice bridge. You still run a marketing consultancy. It's still called Purpol Marketing, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And the consultancy itself, it has several aspects. It has the bid writing as one particular element, which a lot of it is in the construction sector, but also builds on my manufacturing history as well. But we work across all sectors: legal, technology, IT, HR, any given expertise. We've helped them with their bids. And marketing strategy, that's a great love of mine, where someone actually just says, I have this business, we have these issues, and you just think, what is the best thing you can do to help them? And there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and sadly marketing suffers from some previous relationships as the colouring in department, where everybody does all the nice adverts, and there is a great place for creativity. And that was the thing that attracted me to marketing in the first place, that the ability of artful science. That's what we want. It's data, it's images, and it's words all combined.
Well, as the listeners may or may not remember, that's my background as well. Personally, I think no matter what business we're in, we are in marketing. We're in sales and marketing.
Absolutely right, we are. Yes.
Yeah. So the awards, so that's another aspect. And you are, I think you became an expert in awards because you applied for and won so many awards. Would that be fair?
Yeah, absolutely. It was the journey, bid writing, marketing strategy writing, award entry writing, grant writing. They're all one and the same thing. People give you generally a form or a structure whereby you've got to compose an answer within some sort of limits. They're asking you about your story. What do you do? And I realised very early on that awards gave you a great platform, particularly as a small business, to actually be able to shout really loud. So applying the knowledge of marketing, bid writing, grant writing into the entry process, I learned a lot about what different awards were asking for. And that actually led to a lot of success, and success built on success. So when you started to win, people recognise you as a winner, and it gains its own momentum. And now we're delighted to have won 13 international awards, many national awards, and many local and industry-specific awards. And they're all great in their own different way, because it depends where your audience is as what you're wanting to influence. And based on the plain choice of, do you want to deal with an award-winning company or a non-award-winning company when you don't know anything else about them and you're just looking them up, then most people think, actually, I'll go for the award-winning one. That's the good route to go down.
I love that. And I'm sure people heard you say with pride, we've won 13 international awards and national awards and regional awards and industry awards. That's what I heard anyway. So, I've noticed it. And you and I have been connected for a while. So I see it on your social media and your email signature. And yes, you have to shout about it. Let's talk thoughtful leadership. How does the thoughtful leader approach awards, marketing, bid writing? What's different about the thoughtful leader's approach?
Yeah, the thoughtful leader understands what it is the client is looking for and what the leveraged benefit is. Just talking about yourself for your own promotional purposes is not actually very interesting to any other business, quite frankly. What you can do to help them, it's back to the old marketing, what's in it for me? Your audience is wondering what's in it for them. How is this going to help me? And if they think, actually, I can engage with a company that's been recognised as providing a good service, and that's what the awards give you, an independent judging panel, that validation. And it could be from peers in your industry, it could be from peers in your locality, or it could be a global panel that are actually looking at your business skills. But that recognition gives you that standout, and that's what companies want to know. But they also want to know, how is it that you're going to make a difference to their business? And that's the thing. If you're able to analyse and write a good award entry about your own business, then that means you've recognised the story of what you're trying to tell. You've broken it down into measurable chunks. You've answered the question you were asked. And that probably is the universal truth across bids, across grants, across award entries. People like to answer the question they want to answer, not the one they were actually asked. And that the door is shut on them straight away if they don't answer the question that they've actually been asked. So people really do want to know what the story is. They want to know that the human being behind the business as well. And it's all of that connectivity. It's the work that you do around the scenes. What have you done to develop your own staff? And even the fact of, an award ceremony, it means you can bring them to a virtual ceremony. It means you can take your clients with you. You can share the good news. This is all the things that you bring on board. And it encourages the next generation as well. That's really key for me.
Yes, I know it is. We'll get to that in just a minute, but I just want to pick up on the fact that we're always saying thoughtful leadership means putting more thought into your interactions, into everything you produce. So let me just make sure you're saying put more thought into your applications, into, well, basically everything that is being seen and that you're being judged on. Yes?
Oh, absolutely right. I mean, it is to have absolute clarity and that perception of what you're wanting to do, what your future holds, taking that measured approach. Unfortunately, a lot of people with award entries, they want the end result, but they don't want to go through the process. Yet the process itself could be the most valuable part of that whole activity, to actually assess your business, to look at where the gaps are, to really think in a measured way, where is it I'm going? What have I achieved? That actually might set you off in a totally new direction. And the discipline of the award entry is what's forced that on you almost.
So both personally and through the business, we have entered many awards over the years, and we've been winners, we've been finalists. I'll never forget, though, when I really thought we were going to win an award and we were sitting at the dinner, and they always make you wait until you can hardly eat because you're nervous. I mean, all the courses have been served. And then they start the whole thing and they go category by category. And I was like on the edge of my seat, and I really, really thought we were going to win it. And we lost. Well, we didn't lose. I mean, we were finalists, but we didn't get the top spot. And it went to someone in such a different business. This actually happened twice. And you just think, but how? How can you compare my business to that? Totally different industry, different size company, different, because the ranges were really big. It's like everything up to 500,000. Well, you've got 30,000, you've got 100,000, you've got
200,000. Absolutely. And I think that's about having the structure to judge where it is you are being in the competitive space. Sometimes it is the case. I mean, you will have awards as well that are popularity contests. Now, if you can leverage a large tribe who will vote for you, fabulous. That means you've got that as a chance. But as an accolade, being judged by a collection of experts in the field is possibly more valuable and more thought leadership driven of your business, because it's going to educate your future direction in a better way, because normally they're going to give you feedback. They're going to say what they particularly liked about your application, whereas a vote is often a portal and a click and off it goes. So it depends which ones that you put yourself up for. And, sometimes judging is a totally transparent process, and sometimes it isn't. And that is what you've got to always look at in this whole world of award entries. Where do you put yourself to stand the best chance? But there's a huge amount of leverage you can get from being a finalist. Now, if you've got the advantage that you weren't the winner and the winner's gone off and had to do their video, then actually you've got the floor that you can network with all of the other finalists. So switch it as an advantage. You've got to look at that as that process.
I love that spin on things, Denise. So guys, if you didn't realize, it's in the show notes and her bio, but Denise is the multi-award winning author of a book called Winner, How to Win Business Awards. So that's why we're spending so much time talking about this. It's part of your overall marketing strategy, as is getting your bids right and winning business and lots of other things. Taking it back to thoughtful leadership in general. So let's not just talk about construction industry, because we have a lot of listeners from different industries. What would your tips be for people to be more thoughtful about their business, about marketing their business?
I think it's seeing the eyes of the client, segmenting your market and understanding which bits of your business are valuable to certain target audiences. And of course, people want to be valuable to everybody. They naturally, as a human instinct, want to be liked by everybody as well. But in terms of your business, it might be that you've actually lost track of who generates you the most money. And that is quite brutal, but it's quite truthful. And during lockdown, we actually revisited a lot of our marketing content. I've always had online marketing courses. We've got Magnificent Marketing. But during lockdown, I created a brand new course called Marketing for Recovery. And a lot of people miss the basics, like understanding who their most valuable clients are, how much cash they generate from them, what effort does it take to maintain them? These are all the things that you really need to be knowing about your business, because over time you can be distracted and believe that because they're demanding a lot of your time, that you think they're actually generating you a lot of your revenue. And it could be that those that are generating a lot of your revenue aren't getting your time. Well, red alert number one, but also those that aren't generating much revenue take a lot of your time. There's another alert that you need to definitely pay attention to.
That is such a good point. And some people who've started a business, they love the business. They love what they do. They founded the business. They don't love data and analytics and all that. They get help with that though, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. From an expert perspective, if someone's had a task expertise and they've transferred that into their business, which is, quite frankly, how many people start, they're good at the job of the business, but not necessarily skilled in the structure management of the business. So if you don't like it or you're no good at it, get someone else to help you. I mean, yes, you've got to look at how you can afford that. So it still needs to go straight back to the roots of what generates money for your business. But you've got to have the balance of what you enjoy doing too. And it's looking at that and thinking, I had a conversation with someone recently saying about, oh, well, the trouble is when you've got your own business, what happens about work-life balance? And I said, it's called life. Don't try and think that there's a work-life balance when you own your own business. Someone might want you at a different time of day or night or over the weekend. Bid writing, we accept that. There's two universal truths. One is they've left it too late, and two is they've left it too late. Now, when you know both of those things, all you can actually do is work with what you're given. But what is the market of that? Well, if it's the fact that it leverages you more income because it's a uniquely desirable skill, like someone who knows a lot about accountancy or the latest HR regulations, then you leverage that.
She's very wise, isn't she? Denise, are you willing to talk about where you got it wrong at any point in your career?
Yeah, I think what you can take from the journey, is it so much getting it wrong? I think it's that sometimes you have to do things because it's what's available to you. If you come from a small town and then there's limited job opportunities, a lot of people at the moment are suffering from a job market where there isn't much opportunity. And I spend a lot of time coaching young people. We've just recently run a Kickstart scheme for 50 people nationwide teaching digital marketing. I've got 6 new students as well again at the moment. I constantly do internships, work experience. I spoke at a careers day earlier this week via Zoom. All these things you do to educate people. But I will say there is never a wrong turn. You might be doing something that you think isn't your ultimate life plan, but it always comes back. I mean, I've done marketing for companies that wouldn't believe that I can design a drainage run. Well, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to done that if I didn't work for a plastics manufacturer. You wouldn't expect people to know about viscosity of yogurts if you haven't worked on a tasting panel. I mean, all these things come up in different ways, and it's about how you can relate to people and their challenges. And marketing strategy is business strategy. It is the fundamentals of how a business is run. So there's no wasted knowledge. And yeah, what would I have done had I have left for rural Wiltshire and gone for the big city? I don't know. But, you take these things and you make these choices and you move forward. So I think there's no wasted time, but you've also got to acknowledge when the direction isn't working. And sometimes when you're in a small business or in any business, if you've invested a lot of emotional collateral in what you're doing, it's very hard for you to admit something hasn't worked. And we've had times before that we've scheduled a live speaking engagement and a training session, and you just haven't had an amount of bookings that justifies the content you're giving. And you just might have chosen a bad date. I mean, there is definitely something in the universe about how you choose dates, because I see it with bids. Everybody chooses the same date when they're all due in. If you're invited to any networking event, it's the same evening at the same time. Who decides this? I don't know. But sometimes you just got to draw a line under it and say, do you know what? That isn't working for now. It isn't that it won't work ever. It just might be that the timing's not correct.
Such wise words. Thank you for sharing all of that. And I'm glad you didn't use the P word. A lot of people have had to pivot during.
Yeah, and you know what? If it's a word that people understand, yeah, I mean, in language terms, you can get very aggravated about the repetitive nature of certain terms. But yes, all businesses have had to, pivot, flexible, reformat, restructure, whatever they've had to do, because their audience. And it might not have been their audience isn't going to be there forever. But sadly, in marketing, we know the two universal factors that people always need marketing, but it's often the first thing that's shelved when there's a recession or a pandemic. Obviously, none of us have experienced one of those before, but it is that whole structure. And you think, well, actually, it isn't the case I'm never going to have clients. It's the case that they don't want what I'm offering now because they're not there. So whatever your business is, think about the timing. Is it that they're never going to want it, or is it just not appropriate for that moment? And I think then you can do something else. I mean, we spent a lot of time last year actually helping charities with grant writing. There wasn't construction bids because construction was shut. So what are you going to do? You know there will be building going on again in some time in the future. But if you're helping in something that's an expertise of time relation and the time isn't needed for that, then spend your time doing something else.
That is just fantastic advice. I think we're going to leave it there because you've pretty much said everything. People hopefully have been jotting down, or if they're in the car, memorizing what you've said. Thank you so much, Denise, for spending time with us today on the Thoughtful Leader podcast. And we'll see you very soon.
No problem at all, Mindy. Lovely chatting with you. Take care.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Thoughtful Leader, and I hope it's inspired you to be more thoughtful as a leader in your business. Please consider subscribing and leaving a review. An important question for you. Do you want to create a culture of thought leadership in your organization? My best-selling book, The Thoughtful Leader, is available now on Amazon and many other sites in paperback, ebook, and audiobook formats. Please visit www.mindygk.com for more great content. That's www.mindygk.com. Speak to you again soon.